up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and do a top 10 list. Now, getting so close to the end of the year, I actually have a couple of these videos set up, culminating with my top 20 McFarlane DC Multiverse figures of 2023. Now, actually, today we are going to do top 10 Megafigs, collector-build figures, and vehicles. Now, of course, as always, this is just my list. Comment down below in the underground and let me know what would have made your list. But usually how I do these is I make a list and then I try and figure out which figures I could lose in my collection and which ones I could never get rid of. Also, which figures, once I pick them up, I can't put them down because they're so fun to play with. And also, which figures are just the most awesome to have in your collection. But first, we will start off with an honorable mention, and that is going to be Justice Buster armor. Now, this guy actually had a battle with some of the other figures on the list, and he really wanted to be on the top 10, but he did come out as an honorable mention. I just couldn't, put him on the list because although he is an awesome figure, tons of awesome scope work, tons of detail, the articulation is a little bit limited, although he does have some surprising articulation that kind of sneaks up on you. He is an awesome figure. Now, if they would have articulated the fingers, although the head articulates, it's not that much, this would have been by far on the list. This one does have cool detail. I got to give him that. He has a lot of cool gears and different bolts and just an awesome attention to detail from McFarlane. And the other thing I didn't like is that although he is a bigger figure, he is really light. They just, skipped out on the, heavy plastic. And if he just had a better feel to him, I think he would have nudged, under under the line into that top 10. But as it goes, he's just an honorable mention. Really awesome figure. I did wait on getting this guy, and I ended up picking him up on Amazon for a reduced price. He does seem like he could be a lot of fun if you like to do figure photography and stuff like that. So this is my honorable mention, and that is the Justice Buster armor. Now we'll get down to the real list. This is going to be number 10, and this is going to be Kalibak. Now he is a Megafig, as well was the Justice Buster, and this is just a beefy guy. What I really like about this figure is the sculpt work, the added paint, and the attention to detail. All of the sort of Kirby-esque symbols that they have all over his suit really bring out the best of this figure. The suit has a nice texture, which I really love from McFarlane. Just an awesome, beefy guy. Now, this guy weighs more than the Justice Buster, which is why he actually beat him out on making the list. Now, another thing, if you check out the back, the scope work is just all over this figure, even on the backside. Now, he does have his mace that he carries around, and I usually store it right here on this strap on his back. It's a nice little hiding place for that weapon. Just all around a great figure. Now, what is a negative of this figure? And I would have to say that is the articulation. I think even the Justice Buster's legs have a little bit more articulation. Now, if you heat this guy up and move him around, he does, have some semblance of articulation. So for a big, monstrous guy, I don't really expect him to be doing backflips or splits or anything like that. But he is just a really nice looking figure. Awesome addition to the collection, and really happy to be putting him in at number 10 on my top 10 list. Now coming in at number 9, we actually have our first collect-to-build figure, and that is going to be Beast Boy from the Teen Titans wave. Now, what's good about this figure is definitely the sculpt work. Just look at the suit, all of those cool grains and added detail. And even the sculpt work on his fur and on his body is just really nice. Really love the head sculpt. They really captured that Beast Boy hulking out. Just something I really love about this figure is that face sculpt. Really, really nice. Now, minimal paint on this guy, but he didn't really need a lot of paint. But what takes him, above these figures, of course, is he does have some awesome articulation. You can get him in a lot of poses, really good shoulder articulation, and he even has some semblance of waist articulation. So this is a really well articulated figure, really well designed, and the first collect-to-build figure on the list. That is Beast Boy. Now coming in at number 8, we do have another collect-to-build figure, and that is going to be Cyborg. Now, what do I really like about this figure from the Flashpoint wave? And of course, it is his shelf presence. He is a huge tank of a figure. Awesome sculpt work, awesome design for the Cyborg, although he is more from the comics than anything else. Has that sweet cannon. Great articulation. This guy actually does have a lot of waist articulation, and you can get him in some cool battle poses. So this is one that was not hard to get on the list because he has it all in sculpt, in articulation, and just the way he sits on the shelf is really awesome. And that is the collect to build Cyborg figure from the Flashpoint wave. Pretty big chunky figures that McFarlane has given us this year. Really happy with that. Now coming in at number 7, we actually have our first vehicle, and that is actually going to be Storm. Now this is really considered a vehicle because of course he has to be ridden. Love this as a display piece. You cannot go wrong with this big, beautifully designed seahorse. Now, anybody could ride this guy, but of course, for me, it is awesome to have my classic custom Aquaman riding on this elegant beast. Now, a lot of people ask me why I don't use the unmasked Barry Allen head, and that is because I actually pose my unmasked Barry Allen on a Flash body, eating an egg sandwich, and I just don't feel it on my shelf to have a different character with the same head sculpt. So that is why I go with the Flash Gordon NECA head. It just gives me that more regal Aquaman feel, and this setup is really beautiful. If you have this, if you have a place to display this, put some lighting on it. This is a really beautiful display piece. So coming in at number 7 is Storm with classic Aquaman. Now coming in at number 6, we do have the Doomsday Megafig. Now this did come in a 2-pack with a battle damaged Superman. And this figure gets kind of a lot of grief, but honestly, I really like this figure, and he's one of those figures that once you get him, moving and posing him, he's really a lot of fun. Not to mention he spends his time beating the brakes off of Kal-El. Now the sculpt work on here is really intricate. You have tons of spikes. Although this was some reuse from the Devastator, I think they gave it enough to give it its own feel. And of course, that head, although not traditionally the way Doomsday looks, I actually like it. He looks like a real savage. And of course, the chef's kiss is the articulated jaw. That should be basically mandatory on all Megafigs. If they can do it, is give them an articulated jaw. So that is number 6, the Doomsday from the 2-pack. Awesome, awesome, pretty grimy figure. Now coming in at number 5, we do have another vehicle, and that is actually going to be the Batcycle from the Flash movie. Now the reason I picked this as my, in between is because he does have something cool about him. Besides all the attention to detail, you got mounted gun barrels, pretty cool spinning wheels, and also some sort of Dyson wheel ingenuity. any Batman can actually ride this thing and it would look good. But preferably, I like to have the Batfleck figure riding this bad boy. Now, I know this figure, a lot of people don't really like it, but I actually am a big fan of this figure, especially when you customize them and give them a little bit of repaint. A beautiful setup. You got that cool cycle and a really unique looking Batman. But like I said before, probably any Batman would look good on this cycle. But that is our first vehicle. Pretty tough. Now coming in at number 4 is going to be the 89 Batmobile. Now I actually do have both Batmobiles, but I do want to show off this matte black, beautiful rendition of the 89 Batmobile. Just a sweet, sweet vehicle with the open canopy. Now, this one is pretty cool because you can have the Batman, inside or standing next to him. But in all honesty, you don't really need him. Just this vehicle on its own, sitting up on your shelf or up, in a higher, mounted place, really draws a lot of attention, and it is a cool looking vehicle. Now, one thing a lot of people don't think about, and that is that before we could only dream of getting some bigger size vehicles for display or, adding to the collection, but McFarlane is actually delivering it to us. Really love the black paint on this. I do not feel any remorse for people that said, "Oh, I bought the Flash one and I painted it," but this 89 Batmobile was actually on the rumored list, so that is why it didn't make a big difference to me. I bought the Flash one. I like the Flash one. I have him with a Michael Keaton from the Flash figure, but I love this matte version of the same Batmobile. Pretty awesome. The other Flash Batmobile, just to get it out of the way. But yes, you do have two pretty sweet vehicles. This one's more of a gloss color, and the canopy does not really match. Also, the accent paint around is different, but I do not care. I actually have a Batman as well for him, the Michael Keaton from the film, and I actually love having both of these in the collection. Now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. This is going to be the top 3. We do have another collector build, and that is going to be from the Dark Knight Trilogy wave. And of course, that is Bane. Now, I love this figure. This guy is so far up on the list, although I am a little bit biased. But he is so far up on the list because whenever I pick this guy up, I just cannot put him down. Really fun to pose, especially with all the extra hands that they gave him. Now, this is actually my custom version where I actually gave him some weight in the midsection and gave him a wash throughout the body and painted all the details of his costume. Love this Bane figure. If I, like I said, if I pick him up, it's really hard to put him down. Now, I didn't add the coat one in here because that was a single release, and also because I made my own coat version, which I actually prefer to that soft goods version that McFarlane gave us. But I still have another Bane that is, in its original release with no added paint or anything. I still trying to think what I want to do with that guy. But love having these Banes in the collection, and they're really awesome to do some figure photography for the Dark Knight Rises. So that is number 3 on the list. Wish he could have been higher, but I had to be honest. And he's a collector build figure. That is Bane. And coming in at number 2 is another collector build, and that is the Schwarzenegger version of Mr. Freeze from Batman and Robin. Now, I actually bought this whole set from McFarlane when they were doing that holiday sale. So I think it was $84. So basically, that's like $21 a figure, plus a Mr. Freeze with his cannon, with a bunch of effects to, put characters in a deep chill. So just an awesome, awesome figure. But what really elevates him for me are a couple of things. The attention to detail on the scope work of the suit. Minimal paint, but what it does have really counts, especially at the head sculpt. Love the translucent blue plastic that they used. And they actually got the visage of Schwarzenegger pretty close. And I'm really happy with that. Now, like I said, he comes with tons of effects. He even has an effect here for his cannon. But what I would really like to focus on is that Warner Brothers was not letting McFarlane do any sort of guns. And I think they're kind of, taking the foot off a little bit because Mr. Freeze does come with his actual freeze cannon. So beautiful figure, awesome to have in the collection, and really a top tier figure. If you were to repaint this guy, you'll, take him to that next level, but he's awesome just like that on the shelf. And finally, my number one Build-A-Figure, Megafig, or vehicle. The number one on my list is the Batwing. Now, every time I do a review or a video, you do see the Batwing displayed right here above me. Love the way he's displayed up there. Now, the thing about this one is that if you are a serious DC Multiverse collector, you must have a Batwing. I know people that have multiples. I know people that have repainted it. I just like having mine here on display. He does have a Michael Keaton Batman from the movie sitting inside the cockpit. Tons of detail. Scarce on the paint, but I think the shelf presence is what really puts this vehicle to the next level, because a lot of people are not going to have this Batwing in their toy room. So there is a select few of collectors that pick these up. Now, the price has not gone down on this specific vehicle. I've been watching it to make sure, the prices ever went down. And no, they're basically still at the same price almost a year later. But it is by far one of the biggest gems in my collection. So that's it, guys. That's my list for Build-A-Figures, Megafigs, and vehicles. You guys let me know what you think. What's on your list that wasn't on mine. I will have a couple of more of these throughout the next coming days. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.